Everybody says they have an overthinking problem. I can't stop thinking. My mind won't shut off. I'm stuck in my head. But thinking is not the problem. Thinking is what the brain does. Saying you have a thinking problem is like saying your heart beats too much. Yeah, that's the assignment. Why does it feel so bad? Why does it feel like your own mind has become a bad neighbor? Because what most people call overthinking isn't really thinking, it's friction. It's interference, thought working against thought. Imagine driving a car with one foot hitting the gas and one foot hitting the brake. The engine screams, the everything just shakes, you burn fuel and you don't go anywhere. That's not overthinking. That's thinking fighting itself. One part of you says, I should do this. Another part says, what if it goes wrong? Another says, you should already know how. And there's some smug little manager in the back taking notes like it's some sort of performance review. Your mind is not solving anything at that point. It's hosting conflict. And then people call that intelligence. They call it being careful or being responsible. They call it processing. But most of the time, just internal traffic. Real thinking is actually pretty clean. It can even be quiet. Not because you forced silence, not because you did some sort of spiritual trick and turned into a houseplant, but because the fight stopped. That's the part that people miss. The mind does not suffer because it thinks, it suffers because it's divided. Because one part is trying to move and another part is pulling the emergency brake and a third part is standing there with a clipboard asking why it's not going any better. Of course you feel exhausted. That would exhaust anybody. So the next time you say, I'm overthinking, look a little closer. You may not have a thinking problem. You may have a interference problem. Something in you is arguing with what's happening, arguing with risk, arguing with uncertainty, arguing with feeling, arguing with reality itself. And that argument is expensive. Once all that interference drops, something strange happens. The mind gets simple, not empty, not dead, not dumb, just clear enough to do what it was built to do. Think. Useful thought is simple. Interference is loud. And a lot of people have been calling that noise intelligence for way too long. Maybe the goal is not to stop thinking. Maybe the goal is to stop fighting inside your own head. And if that fight can soften just a little, you might notice the mind was never the enemy. It was just trying to drive with the brake on.